will revolutionize the technical aspects and crafting aspects of farms and Minecraft as a whole.
I don't know if it's going to be the revolution that everyone wants.
Imagine this, my little green friend. Imagine this.
Hello and welcome to Minecraft Lab, where we explore, experiment, and theorize about all things Minecraft. I am Minor Thoughts, and with me is a man who is tall, like the jungle tree, just so his parrot friend can sit on top. The Troj and Jurassics.
Are you saying Jurassic's gonna be on me?
He's got his seat right there, the supervisor chair, right on top of the tree.
The official supervisor chair.
I don't know where to go. Minecraft. Let's keep this PG and talk about Minecraft. We're talking about what we were given in the 1.21 update, which we have no name for. We can theorize about what that is later on, but coming off of the last episode, we wanted to devote a whole episode on the implications of the autocrafter, the crafter, that was given to us, what was it, a couple days later after Minecraft Live in a snapshot. Now, you guys have played with it more, probably more than I have. I toyed around with it this morning, trying a few things out that I was curious about, but let's get into it. Troj, you've already got a video out.
I do have a video out. I'm hoping maybe the first of maybe a few, depending on how it goes in views. I wanted to play with it and see what was doable. And when I first saw it and they first announced it, my first thought was, which I think most people's first thought was, we can now condense our ingots into blocks, etc., things like that, a lot easier and a lot quicker without having to sit there. Now, I can tell you with Season 3 of Interrealms underway, we've been using here in the Ocean Clan kelp blocks for our fuel source because that was one of the rules of the game that we were using. And I can tell you, making kelp blocks in those quantities is extremely annoying. This crafter block makes kelp blocks now a very viable option for fuel. It has implications for so many farms, gold farms, iron farms, auto smelters, the moss farms with skelly spawners. The list goes on. The list goes on what this thing can do. I'm on record as saying it will revolutionize the technical aspects and crafting aspects of farms and Minecraft as a whole.
I don't know if it's going to be the revolution that everyone wants, but I definitely feel it's going to give us some of the things that we've been lacking. As Troj mentioned, the compaction of blocks from ingots down to blocks, improvement in storage, like reducing the lag by having so many chests to store all of your bits of bone meal. You can now reduce that whole wall of storage blocks down into a couple of double chests and hopefully make the farm footprint smaller and ease of crafting, so you can just go in there, get what you need and go without having to craft manually.
You know what? I'm going to jump right in there. You just said it's not going to revolutionize it. Imagine this, my little green friend. Imagine this. You've got a skelly farm set up. You're taking all the bones, turning it into bone meal, crafting it into bone blocks. Then, when you need to have the bone meal again, you press a button and out comes bone meal from the bone blocks without you having to touch one bit of crafting. With one button, all this is happening for you. The crafter can do that. It crafts, uncrafts.
We can agree to disagree. I just don't think it's a revolution. I think it's a really good tool to use. But I think, having some of the other blocks, hoppers and that sort of thing that were added previously, they're probably more of a revolution. This is a iteration of Redstone for the technical community. I mentioned in the previous podcast, I think the new copper light is potentially going to have more of an impact than the crafter. So make sure to check out that previous podcast to hear about that.
like I said in the last podcast as well, it is something, it's an upgrade. It's crafting 2.0. They're going back and making things more streamlined. And I knew it when I saw it that this block was designed or influenced by Nembaum, which is in the technical community. And he said, and I'm not going to quote it because I don't have the exact quote, it's not meant to revolutionize crafting. It is meant to streamline it.
One could argue that if you're looking to streamline a somewhat at times tedious process, that's revolutionizing it. Because let's face it, Minecraft can be very grindy on the tedium level, particularly having to craft some things up like your dispensers, like your kelp blocks, things like that. It can be a time sink. If you're introducing a methodology that removes that time sink for players, taking out an aspect of a grindy process, that's revolutionary to me. Like that, to me, that's a really great step. And then circling back to Jurassic's point there, fully agreed that the copper lamp will, I think, become a very important redstone block, 100%, and will condense something that we already have in a T flip-flop. So it's not really introducing anything other than reducing the size of it. For me, the crafter is inspires people to think how you would think if you were playing mods like the Create mod. What's my production line here? What is my methodology to get from point A to point B because I want to create this?
Sorry, one of the dogs has just come back from a walk and barked.
I thought you were taking quite offense at what I was saying. I was like, no! I agree with you that the lamp will be an important block, but it doesn't bring in any feature we don't already have or we can't already make with the T flip-flop. The crafter, the implications of it and the way people think, like this one block alone has made me even go, hey, I think I've got an idea for my Season 4 world for Interrealms because of this one block. And then this one block, I mentioned this to Mr. Minor Thoughts, who said something and it's got us considering our collab sort of style deal for the next world. All because of one.
Spoil it.
I'm not.
Don't spoil it.
I won't. But what I'm saying is this one simple block has led to all of that. I like it.
Yeah. Spoiling is my job.
I'm sorry. I
get that right.
I apologize profusely. Why tell anyone we're going to Mars? Sorry.
This may be a tangent, but on the copper lamp, and I'm still a redstone noob. I'm still learning. T flip-flops, I don't really fully understand them. I don't think I use them. I may have. So I don't know the applications to those. Maybe someone enlighten me on T flip-flops. I know what they are, but I don't know in what application they're used in. I'm sorry if this is a tangent.
Look, to back you up on that, until I was designing the redstone for the Vault Hunters in vanilla game that I'm currently working on the project at the moment, I had never heard of a T flip-flop until I needed a T flip-flop. Now I know what they are, but I think it might be appropriate to let our resident redstone genius explain what a T flip-flop is.
I don't know what a T flip-flop is.
Oh my God, you're then saying this block is going to be a revolution because it's a one block T flip-flop. You don't even know what the bloody T flip-flop is.
No. I think.
Who invited this Muppet? I'm out.
Yeah, you invited me.
Dang it.
So, a T flip-flop, maybe, hopefully I'll get this explanation right, is every time it receives a pulse, it flicks from an on to an off state. So you pulse it with a redstone input, it turns on. You pulse it again, it turns off. And to do that with our current redstone, it takes up a bit more space. So for me, I think I can see the technical community using it as it will allow them to make much better contraptions and viable contraptions, which they haven't been able to do because of how you have to have a traditional T flip-flop in the game.
Okay.
So I've got a T flip flop in that Vault Hunters project. It's basically what controls the on button, and then it controls it turning the game off at the when the timer runs out. Conceivably, with that iron lamp, I could have one block do the same job that's currently taken up by, off the top of my head, like a 3x4 of redstone spaghetti, all in one block.
And if you think that can be included in a auto sorter or a multi-item sorter or something like that, one block rather than a 3x4 space makes such a big difference to what you can create.
And the lag reduction at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. So it's either on or off. So these people that in the technical community that do these huge technical builds, basically building computers within Minecraft, basically the T flip-flop is kind of like a binary thing. It's either on or off. It's a 1 or a 0. So they could possibly compact their things to make them smaller, doing like reading signals, on or off signals. I don't fully understand all that, but I can see how that would compact things in that application. Okay. So yeah, that was a tangent.
Yeah. Shall we swing back to the crafter now?
Yes. Okay. One problem I see with the crafter right now is you're limited with hopper speed, with things you can feed into it. I tried throwing a hopper minecart on top of one, which you can, but a hopper minecart doesn't feed into the crafter. So I thought, oh, that kind of sucks, because I was wondering if you would be able to speed up the rate at which it feeds into the crafter, which is just not possible. So you're limited with the speed at which these things can craft. I see.
I think your limit. So I think you can use a dispenser to input items into the crafter, and you can do that with the observer clock. So I think you can do it at twice hopper speed, but I think that's the limitation.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. But, there's no reason to suggest that, I think we said this in the previous podcast, is a whole technical element seems to be presenting itself here in the fact that, you've got the crafter, you've got a one block T flip-flop essentially, which would have had some thinking to it, I'm sure, but also that the breeze mob can interact with buttons and stuff. So there's a technical theme coming on here. And it's not outside the realms of possibility as this feedback comes through that we may end up with more redstone components or ways to speed up. But by the same token, even if you are limited to hopper speed, you just hook up one of those little auto crafters like I put out on the video to your iron farm, just as it's just sitting there passively, it'll chew through it, no problem. Yeah. This is one of those little passive things. It doesn't need to be super fast. If you want to make 64 blocks quickly, just do it manually. But if you want to just sit there just doing it so you don't have to worry about it, that's fantastic. Like iron farms, I think, for one of the ones that clog up really, really, really with stuff. You just hook up, you put a splitter on it. One goes off to your poppies go off to wherever, bone meal or whatever. And the other things, and then your iron just gets condensed instead of filling up with all ingots. All of a sudden, all these ingots are just automatically put into blocks. I think it's
right.
Yeah, I think the passive use is its key benefit. Like, if you want something on demand, like instantly or as soon as you need it, then crafting it yourself is going to be much quicker. On sort of like an iron farm, I also saw that you could place a hopper underneath the crafter, and you can almost use it as a pre-filter. So you can have the iron and the poppies going into it, but then have a filter directly under it, pulling out the poppies, and then having it craft the blocks of iron as those items go in. So you can really compact that whole process down very quickly on an iron farm.
One thing, though, with this auto crafter that came out, that I'm seeing that I really, really, and there are people that want this addressed, is parity. And I don't fully understand movable tile entities, but the auto crafter between Bedrock and Java is Bedrock, you can push it around with a piston, whereas in Java, you can't. So I could see, I don't fully understand the movable tile entities, but I think that's something that needs to be addressed. If you can move these auto crafters around like in a feed tape, whereas it's feeding in an item per slot as the auto crafter goes by, you can speed things up with being able to move these. I think, and I'm hoping Java or Bojang brings closer parity to the Redstone. I've heard people talk about it, that it's just a few lines of code, and they have mods where in Java that you can have movable tile entities where you can move chests, you can move different things around that have inventories in them.
Parity aside, my concern with the crafter is a lot of players may overuse it and place it on every farm, or on everything has to be auto crafted, when in reality it doesn't need to be. And then that will have the knock-on effect of increasing issues with lag on especially on servers, but also on individual worlds as well.
I think if you cram too many into a smaller space, yes, you're potentially correct. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't mind it putting it on every farm as long as it's like it's a genuine use. Put it this way, right? So I've just pulled up on Twitter, Doc M77's thing here, and he's as he does, he's put up a few chains of how you could use the crafter. It's mind-blowing the uses that it would have, and I think you're going to see it on more farms than you wouldn't. So, for example, he's got iron farm plus a raid farm plus a tree farm plus a cobble farm all into crafter creates piston. Ground farm into crafters into automatic aging machines into crafters will give you all the copper block variants on hand. Then bamboo into a crafter into bamboo blocks, infinite efficient fuel for super smelters, gold farms into crafter into fully automatic bartering for gravel and sand, or gravel and sand plus fully automatic dye farms gives you, and a crafter, all the concrete variants, and it just goes on. So I think you're going to see the crafter used on more farms than you're not going to see it. For me personally, when I'm thinking of farms and what that now, I find myself thinking like I'm playing the create mod. What's my production line look like?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think you raise a very valid point. What is the lag implications going to look like here? Once upon a time, we had a iron farm, which would just spit ingots into a chest, and then you'd come along every little while and empty the chest out. Now, suddenly you've got a redstone contraption there firing away. I think that's a genuine level of concern.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it's not just the redstone or the crafter itself, it's all the redstone behind it. And even looking at some of the basic contraptions, like to create a piston or to create a dispenser, the current contraptions, which, bearing in mind, very early days, and we don't know what else is out there, and we don't have some of the other features potentially coming, they're pretty bulky. And is that going to add more lag than it takes away? And then, people are having bigger problems on servers.
Did you mean laggy with what you saw on the video? Bulky with what you saw on the video?
Yes.
Yeah, with that being said, though, I didn't pay too much attention to what was in the video per se. I was seeing a lot of videos and photos of just a simple auto crafting one that just makes the blocks, like from iron into iron blocks. And these things were huge, multi-level. And I thought, that doesn't sound right to me. And within an hour, and that's being generous, I had one that was like 3 blocks by 2 block footprint too high. I don't necessarily think what we saw in the video was necessarily the most efficient way to be doing some of these things. And I think you'll find the tech community will find, they're already playing with it. I think they'll find a lot. But your point is still extremely valid, is that you're now adding redstone automation into things where there never once was, which is going to be taking up some resources. So it's 100% accurate what you're saying.
I think overall it's for the technical community, the crafter is a fantastic addition to the game. It really gives them something meaty to play with rather than just something simple like, the observer in some ways. The crafter, there's so many different things that they can use it for, like you've mentioned earlier. And I think it's actually been really well thought out. Like they've thought about how those blocks go into or can go into a inventory or into a chest or something like that. They've thought about how it's able to give power. You can use a comparator to read the power out of it. Yeah, it seems like it's not a early concept. It's almost at that finished stage. And I think that the only thing that will be a real benefit is if they're able to say, right, if the container's full of items, then it gives a power of 15, rather than currently it only goes up to 9.
Right, yeah.
What I really liked, what I really, really, really liked, is the fact that it will dispense straight into a chest. You don't need another. You don't need another, like a hopper or something like that. That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. And you're right. It does feel like it's that thing felt like it was a finished product. Like there's nothing I could sit there and look at and go, they could tweak this. It's apart from the feed-in speed, which is not its problem. In terms of the signal strength that you're saying about would give a 9 or a 15, I think the reason that they do the 9 is because it's just a simple thing because it's got the 9 blocks. So
right.
You don't have to alter the signal strength. So when you're setting up one of those auto crafters, you've got to have, if you're doing it like with my one, if you have a signal strength of 9 going into the comparator, so it's only reading a signal strength of 9 and it won't craft until the 9, you can change it to do ingots, you can change it to do iron bars, whatever, just by blocking out or just toggling on off the certain slots in the crafting table in the crafter itself. It'll still register as 9. It's like when you toggle one off, it's 1. So I think the reason they've left it as a max signal of 9 is it makes it simpler to do the maths on, that. Otherwise you got to be altering your output all the time. And like I had someone comment on my video on YouTube there, it'd be better with a composter because you can control the redstone signal better. If I wanted to control a redstone signal better, I'd be using a lectern and a book with a comparator. That's instead of a composter. But B, you don't need to. There's absolutely zero reason. And the reason I chose to use the clay pot or the decorative pot or whatever it's called is because it's easier to not accidentally change the signal that you're putting out. You just so have to happen to have, you can't accidentally turn a page on your lectern because you can't change it unless you've physically got the right block that goes into that pot. That's why I chose the pot, because it sort of is the easiest thing to lock at a 9 output.
I'm not saying get away with the current redstone output. I'm saying when you have a full inventory in the crafter, so stacks of 64 or 16 or whatever the stacks are, or a non-stackable item, so everything is filled or blanked out, then it gives a strength of 15. So it's saying the inventory within the crafter is full. Because then what you could do, you could essentially have, say you're doing a piston, you have one hopper feeding in cobblestone, one feeding in planks, one feeding in iron, and one feeding in redstone. Once all of those get filled up, you then just run like a pulse to a timer that then goes, right, we can make 60 of those items, and actually that will shrink down the footprint of being able to do it, because you won't have to have 9 hoppers each feeding in items at a specific time and crafting one at a time, something like that. So to have that power of 15, if you wanted to use it, you could then use it. And I think that was what I saw Mumbo suggest, and I've already seen it on the Minecraft feedback for the craft.
Right. I've seen that a lot myself, people wanting it to go up to 15 or 16.
And I think if the technical community are asking for something like that, it's not really changing the base of it. It's just giving them possibilities to use this block. I would be surprised if it isn't implemented in the future snapshots.
Right. I mean, especially them being experimental at this stage, they may go ahead and try it, and then if it's well received, then they'll keep it in. If it's not, if it causes problems, then they'll take it out.
I think for me, the whole introduction of this block is a really interesting. Like Trosh, you said, it gives you ideas for your build for season 4. I have to say, for me as well, I'm like, cogs are whirring and turning, and I'm super excited to use it within my base for season 4 and have it do so many of those things that you could do in the create mod. And I'm also super excited to see what the technical and what everyone's able to do with it in terms of building farms and making our lives easier, I guess, and more efficient.
What I think is also going to be interesting to see is what impact it actually has on the create mod, because it's a very popular mod, and they've got a thing in there called an autocrafter, and it is nothing like this block. You have to create 9 blocks and power that block. All of a sudden, that then becomes irrelevant because you've now got a singular block from the vanilla game set that renders it null and void. Unless you're going to be making like the big wheels and like the bigger things where you need a lot more size to them. And also, not that I've played with the create mod a whole lot, but there are certain processes of that you would be using bits and pieces for that the autocraft is going to replace. So it's going to be interesting to see how the create mod in particular turn around and embrace this vanilla feature.
I fully understand why this is now a part of the game. When they hired on Nembaum, him being a big SciCraft member, he's the one, if I'm right, created Carpet Mod. And in Carpet Mod, they have auto crafting. It's one of the things that SciCraft, with the sheer amount of things that they have to craft for world eaters, whatever, part of Carpet Mod is auto crafting. That kind of carrying over into vanilla, with Nembaum being part of the Mojang team, it being part of vanilla now.
Thing also, we're missing a huge thing here. It has a great use as a building block as well, like the base of the auto crafter, and the fact that you can have it in every position is a beautiful base, and also having the top as like a digital keypad for your base or something like that. There's I think, as a building block, it just as itself is fantastic for the game.
That is very true. For me, the fact that this one singular block can inspire all those different sort of thoughts, all those different technical things, all of that we've discussed, is going to revolutionize the game.
I knew you were getting there.
Yeah. Revolution, that's maybe a strong word.
Doc M agrees. Doc M agrees with me. I've just read his Twitter feed. He agrees.
We'll put that in the maybe something in the title for clickbait. But no, let us know. People listening to this, let us know down in the comments. Send us an email. Hit us up on Twitter. Our email is minecraftlabpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, mclab_podcast. That's our handle there. And you could also find us on interimssmp.com. Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
One more thing that I think is very important at this point that we neglected to discuss in the last episode, and we cannot finish this episode without thanking Jurassics for joining us for the past 2 episodes. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here, and hopefully you can join us again in the future.
I'd love to join again, and it's been a pleasure speaking to you both about these super awesome new updates for Minecraft.
I have a feeling we're going to be, in future episodes, we're going to be discussing what is coming up in these snapshots. We might do a snapshot mega episode again, something along them lines. And we'd like to have you on that discussion if you're willing.
I will be, sir. I will.
Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. I am going to go find new ways to blow myself up. Stand back, Jurassics. And Troj, he's in search of the new wood in 1.21.
We're very disappointed, no new wood. Very disappointed. They better correct that before release.
Yet.
Yeah, we need wood. We need wood.
Everybody needs wood once in a while.
Give me wood.
All right, we'll catch you in the next one.
Goodbye, all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
recording, baby. Give it to me.
Okay. Hello and welcome to no.
Wow.
Good Lord. After dark, sorry.
It's after dark. Well, it's after dark here. So hello.
This is Minecraft Lab. No.
Bum chaka bow
Hello.
wow.
there you've got your outro.
Outro done for this week. Thank you all for playing.